Good morning, class. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about divisibility rules. We're going to be going into factors and some things that are related to factors. So it's going to be helpful for us to be able to look at a number and be able to tell, is this divisible by 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 and the like. So let's go through those rules. Let's talk about first what our definition is. When we say a number is divisible by something else, or that it can be evenly divided by, those mean the same thing. So a number is divisible if it can be divided evenly with no remainder. So if I ask you, is 6 divisible by 2, you would think, well, if I divide 6 by 2, would that go in an exact number of times, or would there be a remainder? If it goes in exactly, we would say it's divisible. 6 is divisible by 2. If I were to ask if 6 is divisible by 5, well, 5 does not go evenly into 6 with no remainder. So we would say 6 is not divisible by 5. Okay, so that's what we mean. We're just interested in seeing what numbers go evenly into other numbers. Okay, so let's start with 2. 2 might be the easiest one. A number is divisible by 2 if the last digit is even. Okay, you probably knew that. Some of these you're going to know right away. Some of them you might not. So we're going to stick with it and see which ones I can surprise you with. So some examples of numbers that are divisible by 2 is 356, 24, 4,938. As long as that last digit is an even number, we know 2 goes evenly into our number. Okay. Let's move on to 3. Okay, a number is divisible by 3 if the sums of the digits is divisible by 3. Okay, so when we add up, so that means we're going to add up. So if we add up all the digits and we get something divisible by 3, that tells me the whole number is divisible by 3. If you didn't know this, this is a pretty cool trick. So let's try it. 351. If I add up those numbers, 3 plus 5 plus 1, well, 3 plus 5 is 8, plus another 1 is 9. So those all add up to 9. Well, is 9 divisible by 3? Yes, it is. What that means is 351 is also divisible by 3. Okay? And that works with any number. If all the digits add up to something you can divide by 3, then the whole number is divisible by 3. Okay, 7 plus 2 is 9. That's divisible by 3. On this one, 6 plus 6 is 12, plus 4 is 16, plus 2 is 18. Okay, so those digits all add up to 18, which is also divisible by 3. Now, if you end up, when you add up the numbers, with a number you're not sure if it's divisible by 3, well, you can use the same trick. If you don't know whether 18 is divisible by 3, you can just do 1 plus 8, which is 9. And you can do that until you get down to a single-digit number. Okay, and 9 is divisible by 3. Okay. All right, for 4, a number is divisible by 4 if the last 2 digits are divisible by 4. So instead of just looking at the last digit like we did with 2s, we're going to look at the last 2 digit. So 324, if you look at those last 2 digits, you get a 24. Now 24 is divisible by 4. It goes into 4 an even number. 4 goes into that an even number of times. That tells me that 324 is also divisible by 4. 704, just looking at the last 2 digits, you get a 4. Well, 4 does go into 4. Okay. And then 1,132, 4 goes evenly into 32. So it doesn't matter what the numbers are before. If the last 2 digits are some multiple of 4, then the whole number is a multiple of 4. Okay. 5, here's a pretty easy one. If the last digit is a 5 or a 0. Okay, so if it ends with a 0 or if it ends with a 5. Okay, in both cases, that means the number is divisible by 5. You might be noticing a pattern here of we're either adding up digits or we're just looking at the last number, and that's going to continue. Okay, so all these are divisible by 5. Okay, 6. 6 is kind of a neat one. So to figure out if a number is divisible by 6, you have to check to see if it's divisible by 2 and 3. Well, 2 times 3 gives you 6, right? So in order to figure out if a number is divisible by 6, we have to see that it's divisible by 2 and 3. If it passes both of these tests, that means it's divisible by 6. Okay? So if I look at 420, first I have to see if it's divisible by 2. To see if that's the case, I look at the last digit. The last digit is a 0. which is an even number. So yes, that is divisible by 2. Next, I got to check, see if it's divisible by 3. Okay, so that's where I'm going to add up the digits. So 4 plus 2 plus 0 is 6. Okay, and 6 is divisible by 3. So it passes the test to be divisible by 2 and 3, which means it's divisible by 6. If it only passes one of them, it's not. But if it passes both, then you're good to go. Okay, so I get 72. Well, 2 is an even number, so it's divisible by 2. 7 plus 2 is 9, which is divisible by 3, so it's divisible by 3 also. So 72 is also divisible by both 2 and 3, which means it's divisible by 6. Okay, let's move on. We're skipping 7 and 8. We're going to look at 9. 9 is very similar to the rule for 3. So a number is divisible by 9 if the sum of the digits is divisible by 9. So again, we're adding up the digits, but this time, instead of our number needing to be divisible by 3, it needs to be divisible by 9. Okay, so if I do this, 4 plus 5 plus 0 is 9, and 9 is divisible by 9. Okay, 8 plus 1 is 9, which is divisible by 9. Okay, 9 plus, let's add these up. So 9 plus 2 plus 1 plus 6. Okay, if you remember your commutative and associative properties, you know we can switch the order here. So I can do 9 plus 1 is 10, plus 2 plus 6, that's another 8. That adds up to 18. Well, is 18 divisible by 9? Yes, it is. If you're not sure, you could add up 1 plus 8, and you would get 9. Okay, but you might recognize that 18 is just 9 times 2. So all the digits add up to something you can divide by 9. That means it's divisible by 9. Okay. Now that means you might be thinking, well, if we think about the rule for 3's, 18 is also divisible by 3, right? Because 3 goes into 9, 3 will go into anything that 9 goes into. That tells me if something is divisible by 9, then it must also be divisible by 3. Okay, but the opposite isn't true. If the digits add up to like 6, for instance, well, 9 doesn't go into 6, right? So that's a number that would be divisible by 3, but not 9. All right, we got one more rule. This rule is for tens. All right, so the rule for tens is if the number ends in a 0, it's divisible by 10. That's pretty easy. So as there's a 0 at the end, you can divide it by 10. That might be the easiest one of them all. Okay. All right. So let's see if we can come up with an example and see what numbers it's divisible by. So let's go with 510. Okay, so let's check these one time. Is this divisible by 2? Well, it ends with an even number, so yes. Is it divisible by 3? Well, if I add up the digits, 5 plus 1 plus 0 gives me 6. 6 is divisible by 3, so yes, 510 is divisible by 3. Is it divisible by 4? Okay, that's where I look at the last two digits. Last two digits make a 10. Does 4 go evenly into 10? No, it doesn't. If you count by 4s, you'd have 4, 8, then 12. 10 does not go evenly. 4 does not go evenly into 10. So that's a no. If I look at 5, I want to see if it ends with a 0 or 5. It does. So that number is divisible by 5. I want to check 6. Well, to be divisible by 6, it has to be divisible by 2 and 3. Well, I already checked those. It is divisible by 2 and 3, so that means 6 also works. It is divisible by 6. 9, if I look at 9, again, I'm going to add up the digits. 5 plus 1 plus 0 is 6. 6 is not divisible by 9. So here's a good example of one that's divisible by 3, but not by 9, right? Decimals add up to 6. 3 goes into 6, but 9 does not. Okay. Last one is 10. We check to see the last digit is a 0. Yes, it is. So it is divisible by 10. So 510 is divisible by 2, 3, 5, 6, and 10, but not by 4 or 9. Okay, that's it. Good luck.